As always, I have to test this darn thing before I get going because I've got a microphone problem. I'm not even 100% sure how to do it yet. There's 2 or 3 ways I can do it. Oh, here we are. Yeah, go my thing. Just make sure the sound's all right. Just playing back now. Just make sure the sound's all right. Yeah, that's fine. Lovely. Right, the nature of karma. Now, the first thing I want to say about karma is you don't need to believe in it. It's not something which works on belief. It works in 2 ways. Firstly, it works by practice, and secondly, it works by experience. So the whole thing about karma is if you live your life and see your life as if there is karma, it'll work for you. Because if you read everything as karma, you will start controlling it. You'll start not manipulating it, but understanding it. Manipulating is a bit more advanced. So what is karma and how does it work? It's very simple. There's no punishment involved. It's more about lessons. I have a Swiss Army knife. I'm born with 6 little pieces on it, which I can use, but there's quite a few useful ones I haven't got. How do I make the new pieces for my Swiss Army knife? I have to learn. You can't learn how to make a knife and fork if you haven't got a nice steak to cut. So you're given a steak in life and you say, well, if I'm stuck without a knife and fork, I will work out how to get hold of one. Very simple concept, but thing is, you're learning tools which you'll get for life because you'll get the same problem over and over again until you work out how to deal with it. And then like magic, it often goes away because there is a system way beyond our knowledge and awareness and understanding. But there is a system. So basically, everything that happens to you in your life is a teaching experience. So all the nasty people that come along and all the threats aren't there to take things away or hurt you. They're there so you believe in it. So if it was a film or you knew the script in advance, you wouldn't take it seriously. So you have to believe the threats are real. Otherwise, you won't take them seriously. You won't learn anything. So why would I need to build a lovely twisty thing for my bottle opener if I can screw open the bottle anyway? You have to get your cork, unscrew it, and learn how to make a corkscrew. So the second Buddhist theory of how your karma works is that our consciousness is borrowed by the body. It's not created by the body, it's borrowed by the body. We land in a body with a whole slew of talents and knowledge that we've already gained. Because the point is, they might take away our memory of it, but the knowledge that you're born with and the abilities you're born with, lots of child geniuses, they couldn't learn maths or music in 3 years as a baby. They've got to have known it before, and there's plenty of them around. Great artists, great musicians, great mathematicians, all over the world. You don't get that sort of thing by studying as a baby. You get it because you already know it and you must have learnt it somewhere. Any knowledge that you're aware of, oh, that's obvious to me, I recognise that place. These are the fragments of the memories that you've already had, because it would be a waste if you were to live here for 80 years or so and everything just got wiped like a hard disk and there was nothing left on it. It's got to be more sensible. So it's a simple formula, according to the Buddhists. As I say, you don't have to believe in it, just read everything as if it works. So alternately, you're going in and out of a body. When you're not in a body, you say, well, what did I need to learn next? And you can say, well, I'd like a nice, easy life because basically I'd had a real tough one the last time. I have a bit of a holiday next time. You do have one because you've chosen it. And then you'll say, well, I made an absolute mess of the last one. I better have a really difficult life because I want to catch up and do 3 things at once. And to work all this out beforehand, and then, you know, it's like deciding whether to do my degree double or single, just do 1 subject at a time or 2. So it's up to you. You make a decision. And all the nasty people that come in your life and give you a hard time are there as opponents in a boxing ring. You're not going to learn boxing if somebody isn't there to fight. You're not going to learn any practice. You're not going to learn how to tame a horse if you haven't got a horse that's completely out of control. But horses, as a rule, will always be tamed because their nature is to be our friends. But you have to work with them gradually. And it's not so much with people, because some people are beyond redemption. And animals tend to be innocent, but people, you do have the whole range of them, but they're there as characters to play a part, and you have to believe they're evil, otherwise you won't listen to them. Say, oh, Bill Gates isn't going to take away my roads and my energy. No, he'd never do that. Well, he would. He would, and he is. Who elected him? Where did he qualify as a scientist? No one and nothing. The man has absolutely no status or power except for what we give him. So that's your karma. You get all these big-mouthed billionaires who tell you how to live. They don't live like that. They tell you how to live. And the karma is, you see, for them, they are either people who have chosen to teach millions of people. Because if you get a really nasty Antichrist figure, the Antichrist figure will teach more people than somebody like Ed Miliband, who's just a drip. He's almost as dangerous, but nobody takes Ed Miliband seriously, which is why they didn't vote him in. Or Jeremy Corbyn, everyone laughs at Jeremy Corbyn. You say Bill Gates, and it puts the absolute fear of God into you, and that's why Hillary Clinton lost. Because so many Democrats, their hearts were telling them, well, I'm a Democrat, I'm not getting that woman in, she's disgusting. Same with Mitt Romney. I support the Republicans, but he's a stinker, absolute stinker. He voted against Trump many times, no loyalty at all, and he mistreats animals. Anyone that mistreats animals is a bad one. So you're beginning to learn about karma. Now, the thing is, ownership is a great element of karma. I will explain how. That we all have things that we want to learn and get and acquire. We've got to do it properly. It's no good stealing somebody's ideas or stealing somebody's property because it's not yours. And your heart, again, will always know that that doesn't belong to you. It's got a little mark on it. This belongs to so-and-so. And, you know, you can use somebody else's books and, you know, pencils or whatever for the rest of your life. But you'll know in your heart, even if you've covered it up in your head, that's not my book. Somebody else's book's got their name in it. Now, that sort of thing is the karma, because when you've died and you go to the next place, what were your good deeds and what were your bad deeds? And you judge yourself and you say, well, I stole quite a lot of things. I didn't think it was important. And what they do is they show you the consequences of stealing and how the people suffered that you've stolen from. And you learn, and you come back the next time and say, well, somebody's going to steal from me because I've stolen from them. That's not a punishment, but it's the only way you're going to learn not to do it. So it's incredibly simple. So basically, with the karma, you see everything around you and say every challenge is there to teach me to grow a new tool. I don't mean, you know, but a new army knife tool. And you've got your little piece of wood and a knife, and you're carving these little tools out. It's very easy. Once you've got one, problems seem to go away because you've already learned how to deal with it. Whatever it is, bullying at work. You get bullied at work or at school because nobody has the right to bully anybody. So if somebody bullies you, you have to learn you're equal to them and stand up to them. Otherwise, you'll be bullied for the rest of your life. And you don't respond to bullies with violence unless they're violent to you, in which case it's self-defense and you're entitled to defend yourself from them. But otherwise, somebody's just rude to you. As Buddha says, you do not accept the insult because it's not your insult, it doesn't belong to you. They'll throw all these racist, bigot, homophobe, child killer, all these things at you on the internet. And you just say, well, whatever you want to call me is fine. Kite, yid, 2x4, whatever it is, 4x2, that is. You don't care because so what, you know, all the words for being Jewish or black, you know, we know what they mean. They just mean you're Jewish or black. They're not unpleasant words. They're just descriptive words that some people decide to use in a derogatory way. But you don't take them in a derogatory way. That's why homosexuals call themselves queer now, because they said, well, we are queer, nothing wrong with being queer, and that's the end of it. No doubt they'll be bent next. You know why they're called bent? Because the men bend over. Not many people know that. So the thing is, you don't accept insults, you don't accept any of the crap that people throw at you, but you learn how to handle it, you learn how to deal with it. So if you're doing your UCA forms, as they used to be, it's UCAS now, you've done your A-levels, you go to the library in the old days, now you do it at school or on the internet. Nowadays, we all used to go to Finchley Library, and they had the book, the A's to Z's, lots of books of courses, and we'd read all the courses in the Easter holidays before we did our A-levels and decided which universities we wanted to apply for, and then we fill in the forms and say, well, I'd like to do this, 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 and this, and if I can't get the A-levels for this, this is my second choice, and I got my third choice, which wasn't bad because it's a law degree. Nobody in life is ever going to regret doing a law degree, so if you're going to do a law degree, I would say that will probably put your head and shoulders above everyone else, because it's one of the most logical things that you will ever do, and it will mean that you can understand all sorts of investigative and anything that's complicated, you'll understand it, because you've got to tease out all these complex problems and moral issues when you're doing crime and contract and negligence and things like that. So I would recommend, even if you're not doing law, to read a little bit about it. It's a very good way of understanding how the world works, because everyone needs it. Without it, we would be in total chaos, and it only operates, unlike political rules affect everybody, whereas the laws only affects the people that break them. So the great thing about laws is that if you're not being a bad boy, you'll never come unstuck with the law. Whereas if they block your road for no reason, you'll suffer. So Sadiq Khan, who is turning London into a bomb site, will suffer. He'll get his karma because, you can get it in this life or you can get it in the next life. You'll get it. You can never run away from it because what you've done is you created it. Sadiq Khan has turned London into what used to be one of the best cities in the world, into a third world shithole with block roads and expensive payments. He wants to charge people a fiver to commute in and out of work, as well as the ultra low emission zone and the huge congestion charge 24 hours a day. The man is an absolute demon. And I say that meaning demon because demonic energy, Antichrist, Satan, it's not an individual. It's an energy which either possesses people or they're born with it. Hillary Clinton, I use my heart, tune into people. Hillary Clinton was born with it. There's no way. If you read her life story, she was reading Saul Alinsky at university, which is basically ways of controlling people and taking away their rights, which is what she did for the rest of her career. I'm pretty sure she got into a few little scrapes at work. You can read that up yourself. It works for good and bad people. Most people are harmless. A few people like Donald Trump, I have to say, is a saint. Why is he a saint? Because climate change, for example, if you think that COVID lockdown is causing trouble for a year, wait till you have climate lockdown. You won't be able to do anything, ever. That'll be next. Donald Trump was the only world leader who wasn't going to impose climate lockdown on anyone because he was a good man and he couldn't be bought, he couldn't be blackmailed. They said to Julian Assange, oh my God, why the hell didn't you get some dirt on Trump? And Julian said, well, there wasn't any. You can't get dirt on somebody if it doesn't exist. QED couldn't be bribed because he's a billionaire. And, if you understand that climate change is just a way of taking away our rights, you will understand why Trump was a good man. And now we've got Biden, who's undone everything in a week that Trump did in 3-4 years. You've got a long way to go. It's all karma because everybody who has done that to us will suffer it themselves sooner or later. So, for example, Sadiq Khan, when he retires, he could come home one day and they put a concrete block at the end of his road. And he couldn't park, or his family need an ambulance. They can't get up his road because he's blocked it. So that's the sort of thing. If you hurt other people, it's a boomerang. It always comes back to you. That's karma. So it's not a punishment. It's just cause and effect. If you cause trouble, it's attached to you. So it's the same as stealing something. It belongs to them. If you hurt someone, it belongs to you. That action belongs to you. So while the laws protect you from bad people, the politicians, the political rules, which are purely there to control us, are there to hurt everyone because it shifts billions up the system and it keeps you under control and it stops you moving around, etc., etc. But this is all a learning thing. So to take it to the current lockdown and climate net zero and everything, what's happening is the ascension to the fifth dimension. We're all ordinary sheep at the moment, and there's 10-20% of people who are red-pilled woken up, and we are seeing the truth. I'll tell you what, somebody's in a cult or they're drunk or they're hypnotized, it's an absolute bugger to get them out of it. I can't do it on the internet. I do it on the videos if I'm lucky. I can do it in person, but the internet, they'll never listen to facts because they've got this wall up. You can't get through the wall. I mean, I've just spent a week collecting graphs showing that the CO2 rises after the warming. It's completely impossible to dismiss. And also that the radiative function of CO2 isn't enough to trap any heat anyway. So whatever it does or doesn't do, it doesn't trap heat. It's just released by the oceans when it warms. Simple as that. Always has, always will. Completely harmless. And it's actually vital because if it goes under 150 parts per million, the plants will die and there won't be any oxygen. So if they say net zero CO2, that's net life. Net zero life. Think about it. Taxing the air you breathe. You wouldn't believe it was possible, but Bill Gates wants to do it. And as soon as possible, because I wasn't sure who the big man was. George Soros is the director. He's the big mafia boss who's the figurehead. He's in charge of everything. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, John Kerry, they're all the generals. They're running the show for each department. But who was actually in charge of the whole thing turns out it's bloody Bill Gates after all that. Because his latest geoengineering, which is spraying filth into the air to block the sun out, is going to hurt everyone. It's going to ruin the earth forever. There's going to be toxic metals and powder and shit and everything all over the ground, in our water system, in our food system, and he did it. As well as his net zero. Dimming the sun. Imagine dimming the sun. What's the point of dimming the sun? Can you actually, so you're rationing air to start with, you're taxing air, and you're rationing light. Do you understand now why Bill Gates is the big man at the top? So the guy with the fork in his hand, the trident, that's Bill Gates, as I've now discovered. So I can now announce I've been searching through all the number 1 and number 2 people who were either the figureheads or the generals, but Bill Gates is now the boss. Prince Charles is another one. He's the general for the environment. He goes around the world doing all he can to destroy people's lives because he's a eugenicist and he wants to reduce the world's population by about 80%. How do you do that? Well, you restrict their access to energy and food and water. Bill Gates wants you to eat artificial meat and insects. Well, judge a tree by its fruit. If Bill Gates wants you to eat insects, I bet he won't eat insects. If I said to Bill Gates, well, here's a worm sandwich, you first. I don't think so, actually, because these people are hypocrites. They're liars, they're hypocrites, and they are the lowest form of life known to man. So that's how your karma works. So when they pop off and they go back, there are 2 opportunities, depending on whether they were there to teach or whether they were there to hurt. If they were there to teach, if Bill Gates was sent here because people didn't understand the climate stuff, they didn't understand the lockdown stuff, and they needed something really severe before they red pill and wake up, they had to send Bill Gates because we need a man who is so obviously evil and disgusting, just like this gender fluid shit, this non-binary nonsense. 90% of women do not agree that you can change sex. And these are left and right and feminists and everything. And I've never really become friends with a feminist till now because we're all sticking together fighting for science. And the karma is that if you have destroyed a healthy body, if you're a doctor that's destroyed a healthy body, wait till you come back, you'll get your tits cut off by a crocodile or something, or your leg cut off, like poor old Steve Irwin. So everything you do to other people is going to happen to you sooner or later. So Bill Gates dies. There's 2 opportunities. Either he was there as an evil person, in which case he'll go to hell. Not real hell, because hell is actually here. After you've died, it's just a spirit world which can't be particularly good or bad because it's rather flexible, but you'll be sent to hell because you'll have a really hellish life here. Everything in hell and heaven is on earth, but we move in and out of it individually. So Bill Gates will be sent to hell and he'll be punished 10 times worse than he's done, because the whole point is that if you don't understand what you're doing to other people, if people treat him the way he's treated other people, you won't notice it. You've got to do much more. So he gets the point. Or if he was a teacher, he'll be an angel, because if he's woken up 1 billion people who are going to believe in climate change and make you eat worms, and they say, I'm not eating worms for Bill Gates, and we're not going to stop eating meat for capture pots. No, we're going to actually reject it. And if enough people reject it the way they're rejecting transgenderism, people will red pill and they'll wake up and, as Simon Park says, ascend to the 5th dimension. Not all of us, but just enough, 20, 30, 40% to red pill and we'll ascend. The rest will stay behind because they're quite happy with things as they are. They'll carry on reading The Sun and bet Victor. It makes sense. Gamble safely. All that stuff. That's for the plebs. The lottery people who pay for lotteries every week and they win £10. They, oh my God, I'm rich. How many tickets did you buy? Oh, about 150. So you spent £150, you got £10 back. You can't cure stupid. So the really low level people aren't going to change, but they're there for other reasons because they might have only had 1 or 2 lives here, and we were all like that once. That's why you get child geniuses, because they're born with 100 lives of experience, and they say, well, I'm going to come back. I'm going to bring with me some of my inventions, and I'm going to increase the quality of life. Mozart's going to create loads of music, did his job, and buggered off back to where he came from, because it's probably enough. But anyone like that, Einstein or Leonardo da Vinci, they come because they've got a job to do. If you think people like that learnt it all in one go, Benjamin Franklin, when's the time to do it? I mean, half of these guys weren't even qualified. They taught themselves. Or did they teach themselves, or did they learn it before they came to this planet? So you go in between your life, you review everything you've done and say, well, I learned this, I didn't learn that. It doesn't matter because you've got unlimited goes. And I'm going to come back. But the bonus, if you actually watch this and listen, if you're aware of your course and aware of your karma, and you come in and say, well, every event, good, bad, or indifferent, I'm going to see it as a way of learning something, you'll start understanding it, and you'll start seeing these patterns in your life. You'll see people come and go exactly when you need them and exactly when you need something. I mean, I read spiritual books, and every time I read a spiritual book, the next day somebody asks me a question that I'd read the day before, wouldn't have known the answer to otherwise, because it's all set up. It's all working like a well-oiled machine. And the more you're aware of the synchronicity and everything happening in it, the more you're going with the flow, not fighting it. And your life will be a lot easier, because as Buddha said, finally, enlightenment is the end of suffering. Therefore, you don't need to have learned every possible tool and done everything. All you need to do is to find a way of learning without suffering. Because the point is, if you're going to learn something with an easy lesson, you get it the first time. You don't need to get it the third time with something really powerful like Bill Gates to say, look, if you don't stop eating meat, we're going to kill you or something. You don't want to reach the point where you've got an extreme situation. You want to learn from other people's mistakes, and you want to learn first, second time, and not wait till it becomes so extreme that you're so deaf that you need a 200 decibel alarm clock to wake you up. There's no need for it, because if you understand the system and you're looking for lessons, you say, well, I don't need this alarm clock to be more than a gentle buzz, because I know what it's telling me. I'm going to listen to it. So you've had some examples. Let's say it's a very simple system. It just goes round and round, and when you've had enough, when you've learned everything or don't want to come back, you don't come back and you go somewhere else. And the final level of enlightenment is when you start remembering your past lives. Because when you're ready, when you haven't got an awful lot left to learn, then you'll start remembering it. So, of course, I learned that there, I learned this here, and I knew this person, I've been to that place, because you'll be qualified to get all your memories back. Not many people can do that, but they do. And that's an adept. That's the level of adeptship. When you go out and you can teach if you want to, you can just enjoy it. You can do what you blooming well like, because every life here is unlimited, and we're not under any duty to do anything or not do anything. But if you know something's wrong and you do it, you're going to get it back big time, whatever it is. And if somebody tells you 100 times, don't do that, listen to this, read this, and you take no notice, it'll catch you up in the end. Green cross code, look left, look right, look left again, and get run over by a car because you didn't do it. That's sort of simple stuff. All these rules and regulations are to protect you from getting hurt, getting into trouble. And if you throw them in people's faces and say, oh, Bill Gates and David Attenborough know more than you, well, they don't. Bill Gates has got no qualifications in anything, and David Attenborough reads a script, and he admitted it. He knows nothing about science or the climate. He just reads what he's told. He said so. So you've got to stop hero worshipping. And if you're going to find the heroes, tune into people, feel what they feel in the heart when you look at their pictures, and you'll soon know, because once you've done it 4 or 5 times, I always say pick Hillary Clinton and David Icke's lizard people. If you want to get close to a lizard person, that's Hillary Clinton. She is the worst. Bill Gates is very clever, because what he does is he mixes it up. He does a lot of good things to get your trust, and then he'll slip in a bad one. Then he'll do lots of good things, then he'll slip in a bad one, because that's much cleverer. You see, the devil has to get your trust. The devil always has to be invited in. The devil can never come to your house unless they deceive you and they invite you in. It's all about seeing through these illusions. Once you see that they're out to hurt you, say, leave my house. I don't want Bill Gates or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama telling me what to do. They're hurting me. We know they're hurting me. They're cutting down trees to build wind farms and solar farms when the trees are supposed to suck up the CO2. So if you're cutting down trees for energy which doesn't work, obviously there's something wrong with it. It's so obvious to anyone who's got a brain, but most people's brains are in their arse, apparently, because they can't see it. Even Michael Moore, who's probably makes Jeremy Corbyn look like Tony Blair in comparison to being left wing. I mean, Michael Moore is pretty much, I don't know him personally, but I'd say he's pretty much on the furthest left extreme of leftism. And he doesn't agree with these renewables, because using mathematics and logic, they don't bloody work. And he made a film about it, because they're not the solution. All they do is move money. They don't create energy. I just printed out a list of things that the wind turbines use. They use more power than they create. because they have to be on the whole time. You have to have motors to direct them and to warm them up and to spin them and to slow them down. And they're on the whole time. And you know what? There is no meter showing how much a wind turbine uses, but they use 220 tons of coal for one wind turbine, the concrete and the metal. So that's 220 tons of coal, which is the equivalent of 220 cars. So if you get rid of one wind turbine, that's the savings of 220 cars. You can have 220 cars instead of one wind farm. All the cars help 220 people. That's called, utilitarianism, helping the most people. Whereas the wind farms, of course, they don't work much when it's not windy. They don't work much when it's cold because they freeze. When it's too windy, they'll stop because they'll explode. And they sometimes do. Of course, solar panels are a joke because the most you need them, they never work. They don't work at night and they barely work in the winter. So you take them and put them where the sun doesn't shine. A bit of a pun there, never mind. So hopefully, watching this, you'll get a very simple picture of why everything has to be seen in the same way. And don't trust the people that are pretending to help you because it's an illusion. Look at what they've done. If they make you eat bugs and they take away your meat and they restrict the roads and they restrict your energy and everything else, they're not helping you. Who says that when we had COVID, you had to get rid of parking spaces and drive at 20 miles an hour? Does that really make sense? So that the lockdown has woken up a lot of people who were on the fence before, and they're saying, well, I'm not having any of this crap. It's obviously totally unrelated. The 10 p.m. curfew. So the virus changes at 10 p.m. and turns into a pumpkin. I mean, what's the nonsense that people, I think they're creating these rules just to see how much we'll take. They've got some bloke in a white coat writing down, yes, they believe that one. What we do next? Yes, we block the roads and we block the parking spaces and say it's to stop COVID. And of course, everyone says, oh my God, we're going to get COVID. Don't park in Golders Green Road because it's going to give us COVID. Whoever said that? So there you go, a bit of literal rules and regulations that are there to hurt you because they're not there to hurt you because they can be taken away. But only if you withdraw your consent and you can see it. So that's the message. That's how karma works. See your life like that and you will save yourself an awful lot of suffering and trouble. Thank you.